work. And so for me, I want to keep working, do my day job, and swing
Yes.
trade for the upside is what I'm looking for. Then I don't have to worry about promotions and money, because I'm like, I'm going to try and make my own money swing trading and let that be my vehicle for retirement.
Hello, everyone. I have a great episode for all of you. I did a one-on-one with a gentleman named Steven who is day trading but is needing to make the transition to swing trading because he's going to have to get a full-time job while he's still figuring himself out as a trader. I go ahead and share my screen. We dive into some charts, so I'm sure you're going to love this. Be sure to share it with another trader or a friend to help us continue to grow. Take care.
I'd like to tell you a little bit about my background and then get your thoughts on that. I'm very interested in understanding kind of, if I talk a little bit about my personality and the challenges I faced with trading, your opinions on what strategies might be a good fit.
Okay.
I've struggled with a lot of different things, but just kind of nice to talk to someone who I think has probably been in a lot of the same boat. So just with everything I've heard about your background on YouTube, I think that you'll have some good insight.
Cool, man.
So does that sound good?
Yeah, totally fine. Let's go.
So I started trading about a year ago. I've kind of like dabbled with options for years and years. I got my MBA back 10, 11 years ago and played around a little bit here or there with funny money, you know, like $100 here, $100 there. Never did anything serious at all. But this year I kind of got serious about it because I saw all of the folks on YouTube, like with the ads that come in, Tim Sykes and Ross, and just you get all those ads like quit your job and lifestyle and freedom and all that jazz. And I was like, oh, well, that would be great. And I've always been interested in the stock market. I've always been good with numbers. I've always been good at the things that I've tried. Just not to be like brag or arrogant or anything like that.
Sure.
Always been able to do what I've tried to, for the most part. So anyway, I was like, yeah, I'll give that a shot. So I tried paper trading and I was like, oh, this is awesome. I can make tons of money. And I was following Ross along with Warrior Trading, and he has a specific style, which I think is unique and probably not a great fit for very many people. But if you're good at scalping, it can be. He's just very much a scalper. And on paper, I did great. And I was like, all right, this is fantastic. I totally want to do this. I'm having fun. It's like way more fun than my day job.
Yeah.
So I gave notice, and I liked where I worked. And so I told them like, hey, this is something. I told them straight up. I was like, I'm going to try day trading. And they're like, well, have you done it before? And I'm like, I'm doing well on paper, so I think so. Anyway, and then and I was like, you tell me when you guys want my last day to be, because I want to leave on good terms and everything. So we put it a couple months out. So it was like February, and my last day wasn't till April. Well, I kept on trading, and I did it a little bit more seriously and started using real money.
Yes.
And then I ran into my first big loss. Was ticker STON, Stone, in March, and I was trying to short the front side, and I lost $2,000, and that for me was a lot of money.
Yes.
And so I was like, holy crap! Well, if I'm able to lose $2,000 on a trade, I'd better go get some education. So I did a lot of research. By then I knew I didn't want to do Warrior Trading. There's a couple other programs I was like, yeah, that doesn't look as good. I ran into Investors Underground, and I got a good feeling from watching their material, their free stuff, and it was like, okay, I'm going to try them. So I signed up, and I wrote an email to Cam, and I told him, I was like, okay, here's my situation. What do you recommend? And he's like, keep your day job. But by then I was kind of it was already too late to kind of go back. So I'd already quit. And so I went for it. I just was like, well, I'm going to go try it. And I kind of gave myself 3 months. And then so I started doing it. And as I was doing okay, if I looked at my P&L net, I think I was break even. Gross, I was up a couple $1,000, like made $1,000 in May. June, I was up $2,000, and I was feeling good. And then I had 2 days where I chased, and I lost $1,000, about $1,000 each day. And then from there, that was a really big turning point in my psychology.
Yes.
Because then I started trading scared money, because I was like, I got to pay my bills. I got to provide for my family. I'm married, got 3 kids. One of my children has cerebral palsy, so there's a lot of medical needs. So medical insurance is a big issue for us. And all of that pressure, I kept trading, but I dropped my size quite a bit,
Yes, that's
and I was
smart.
just
That's
trading
smart.
size. I was trading scared. Like I would lose and I'd respect my stop loss, and when I'd win, I'd cut it early. Like as soon as I turned green, I'm like, okay, I'm right, I'm green, and I'd lock in those gains because I was too afraid to lose money.
Yeah.
And so my biggest issues there were FOMO and fear of loss. Both of those kind of were both a plague for me. And I was just shooting a lot of different, trying a whole bunch of different stuff.
Okay.
In August, I started looking for a job.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found something. It was entry level. It was kind of data entry. And it was 8 hours a day. I wasn't able to trade. And I was like, dang, this is not good either. So I ended up leaving that job. And then since then, I've also been looking for another job, and I got one back in corporate finance. And so I start January 3rd.
Okay.
So now what I'm trying to do, I just dropped under PDT, not because I've lost money trading, but because I've been paying bills. And so now I've got like 20 grand left in my trading account because I spend about 5 grand a month, 6 grand a month in bills. So now I'll keep this job, and I'm going to like keep it for as long as I need it. What I want to do is transition to swing trading and do it on the side. So I live in mountain time zone.
Okay.
So I'll be able to trade for the first 30 minutes. And so what I have in mind is in the evening, I want to kind of identify the stocks that I'm going to trade. And then in the mornings before I leave for work, if I see something trigger, then I'll put in my order, then put in and protect a stop, go to work, and check it the next day, and then just manage my trades by managing my stops. And I've done that with some success this fall. Again, pretty small size.
Yep.
I joined Michael Martin's coaching program.
Cool.
And that was really, 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 really good. Unfortunately, I joined it in August and or September and not in March. I wish I had joined his first because I never would have quit my job in the first place, but that's okay.
He's a good guy. A really good guy.
He feels legit. Like you never know, because I mean,
no, he's
like,
fire.
but I like him. Yeah, he
Michael
had
Martin,
really good
right?
advice. Michael Martin, yeah, Martin Chronicle.
Much respect.
And the fact he does it all for free, like, I mean, not the coaching program because that was taking his personal time, but his podcast and book free. I mean, they're a gold mine. And
he's been on the show, by the way. He's been on the show.
I haven't listened to
twice
your interview with him.
You'll like it.
I don't know how I got.
It's all good.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, great experience with him. And Investors Underground has been great as well. I think if I had joined Investors Underground and had different psychology, I think I actually could have done it. Like I don't think I'm a scalper like Ross.
Yeah.
But I think I can do day trading like Nate, because when I wasn't freaked out, I was actually starting to win. But yeah, the psychology, the pressure of trying to provide for the family was too much for me. So, and like you, I mean, one of the things I love about your story is going back to work 3 times. And like, okay, well, here's this guy, he's doing it full time now. And I know you have a lot of irons in the fire, but
I do.
I was like, okay, it's reasonable to go back to work. And so for me, I want to keep working, do my day job, and swing trade for the upside is what I'm looking for. Then I don't have to worry about promotions and money, because I'm like, I'm going to try and make my own money swing trading and let that be my vehicle for retirement and provide it, like doing more than, because I would love to do like not for profits or like, there's a lot of dreams, right? But anyway, that's kind of a whole bunch of about my background. What are some of the questions that you have?
So, what stands out to me, first off, hats off to you for being able to go back, because that was hard for me. Like leaving, I left cold turkey, pretty much didn't know anything and lost. And I had to go back. And that was hard for me. That was really hard for me. But I need you to know, like, I think it's the right move. And I think when you do that and you start swing trading, is a good way to start. It's a good way to start because it's slower paced. It's less stress for me. This is just my experience. And you can set your alerts, right? You can set your plan for what ticker you want to trade. And then you don't have to think of it as that way at the open, I can trade it, because sometimes it won't trigger. It'll trigger in the middle of the day. And and then all you got to do is quickly, you can have your buy order just sitting there. So that way just execute right away. Right. So it's very methodical and just plan out your trade, same way as you day trade, but much slower pace. So I think it's smart that you're doing that. The other side, though, that I heard a couple of times come from you that are something I want to point out is, you refer to Nate style, you refer to warrior style, and you were like, yeah, I don't like, I can see myself trading this style and not this style. What I would really say is my first question is, through those months of trading, right? And those months that you were trading at the time, paper, real, doesn't matter, all of it. Hopefully you tracked all that. And if you did, you took pictures of every chart. And I want you need to review all of those. And if you did, great, because then you're gonna have some questions. But I want you to review all those because I want you to be able to know exactly what you're terrible at and then find out what you're kind of good at, right?
Yeah.
Because the whole idea of like, I want to be more like, I like his style. Like we all got to find styles, right? Like you all got to like lean towards like, oh, this style is more my boat. That's cool. But I want you to understand like trading it is so like, it's the hardest thing to explain in terms of like Nate. Well, you'll never trade like Nate. And I don't mean that as in about like, I'll never trade, like no one will ever trade like Nate, right?
They're very, I'm with you.
Everyone trades. Like me and Nate will trade the same ticker. Sometimes like a couple of days ago, we both shorted ADGI, but like sometimes we'll trade them completely different and maybe we'll both be wrong or one of us would be right and wrong. Like there's so many ways to trade. So what I really want you to do, and hopefully you did already, if not, that's fine. But do you have an idea by looking at your trades, or if you had time to know what you're good at? Like, is it overextension plays? Is it plays that are the breakouts? Like, do you have an idea of what draws you? Like what's like, ooh, I really like trading this. Does that make sense? And for this, I guess we'll focus on swing trading because that's where you wanted to go. But with your swing trading, like what has been like easy on the eyes is the best way for me to explain it. Like whenever you're like, ooh, like I like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I've tried a lot of different things and not really found consistent success with any of them.
Okay.
Really like, so one of my other problems is a lack of focus. And that's something I tried to develop this fall by focusing only on swing trade breakout plays or like ABCD patterns, like very specific like patterns as it were. My problem there is that I feel like I see them everywhere, and like when I end up taking them, I almost feel like they usually don't work. Okay. So now granted, breakouts the last month and a half, probably the market might have something to do with that. But even before that, I don't know. My biggest losses have all been chases. So I know I can't chase. Like I'm bad at that.
Like no one should. Like no one should chase. So that's not so that's good. So like you were doing okay for a while at first. And granted, you're brand new, bro. Like you're so new, Steven, that like at the end of the day, like this is normal. Like you've been at a year, like not even a year, right? So this is normal stuff. Nothing to be alarmed of, but you were doing decent, it seemed like, for a little bit, from what you were explaining, but then 2 days kind of really rocked you and took you back. And I think that's something, it's just breaking rules, right? Like you broke rules of chasing, and that's something that you never want to do, right? So like, that's something you should write down and make sure you don't do moving forward. But at the same time, like you need to have rules of stops, right? Like when to get out, like where are good areas to get out. So that way you have small losses in general, even when you are wrong. And when it comes to breakouts, you need to show me, if you can, when you say you're trading these on the swing side, like what are you trading? Like show me, if you could show me anything, that'd be great. Cause then I can kind of be like, okay, well, here's what I see, right? It doesn't mean I'm right, but I just have a little bit more experience behind my belt where I can kind of show you maybe something different that you're not aware of. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Trying to think of one recent, a PFE, was that a breakout? I tried a couple reversals that didn't work out.
Okay. On what ticker?
Let's see, when's the last reversal? I did an SE this week. That actually kind of did work. That was probably, let's try SE. Go look at SE.
C Limited?
Yeah, I think so. Let me make sure.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen with you. 1 second. All right, can you see this?
That's the one. All right, so I entered on Friday morning. I had a limit order in at 201.55. So
Okay.
that was one I chose because looking left, zooming out, I saw that there was way back when a couple times where that kind of bottomed.
Right here.
Yep. And I was like, okay, 200 super important. So I picked that up off the bottom. And
Okay.
then I didn't sell it. I held it. And then today I ended up stopping out because I moved my stop up to just under 205. Because originally I had it at when I entered, I had it at 199. Then I moved it up to break even. And then why did I move it up today?
Okay.
205. Anyway,
So here's the thing. Why'd you move up to break even like so quickly if it's a swing trade?
that was something that Michael Martin, he was talking about just moving stopped up to break even as soon as you can.
After it makes a significant move. And after, you know what I'm saying? And after, and I know Michael Martin personally, and he can correct me if I'm wrong. He can reach out to me, but like two things need to happen for him. And I don't know about for him specifically, but he talks about this a lot. He talks about structure. He needs structure. And when a stock moves, like if you buy, it's a good buy, by the way. Like if you buy down here, that was a good buy. I get it. Like it makes sense. At the same time, like I like to look at the weekly and the monthly for a swing. And right now, like this would be the only area of interest, right? If I am going to buy it, it'll be like this area right here, right? Yeah. So that's a good idea. However, like we're very strong downtrend, you know,
another reason why I moved my stop up quick is because it's like, I don't think Michael would touch this with a 10-foot pole. He'd probably
I probably wouldn't touch it either.
Why are you buying this weakness? You're crazy.
Yeah, but here's the thing, like, so two things, like you got to have rules for how you move your stop. Like it can't be arbitrary, like, oh, I'm up, so I got to move it to break even. Because if you do that, you're going to be frustrated a lot as a trader, and you're going to be letting a lot of profits go away. Like in terms of like you'll stop out for a small loss or break even, and then it'll just go all the way in the direction you thought. Like, and then that can cause frustration for the next trade, right? And that's a whole other conversation we can get into in a minute. But have some kind of structure to whenever you get in. I get it. Like that was a good idea. You're getting in, risking around 199. There's no reason to change that risk at this time. And in fact, you should still be in it because we're still holding, especially this low. We're still holding this low. It's a swing trade. So you're mainly looking at the daily. At least that's the way I do it. You want to mainly look at the daily. And right now you're still not wrong. Like this could still bounce. Like I could see a bounce to this trend, this 220 mark, and then you could take some profits. But you need to have, like, way I look at moving my stop is about two ways. One way is, let's say I got in where you got in, I'm risking 199, $200. Then I'd give it a couple of days for it to create some structure. And structure to me is something like this. Like if I get in it on, let's go. If I get in on this pullback, this, like, don't pay attention about the whole chart. Just if I get in on this pullback here and it consolidates, then breaks. Well, after this break, it created some structure, right? We consolidated, we got a little bit of a trend, and now we have a little bit of a support, broke. And so now my support is here. Now this is my stop. And so when it pulls back, I'm not getting out. I don't care until it breaks here. And then look, now you can hold for the move. You see what I'm saying? Like, I want structure. Now, if it moves crazy, Steven, like if it does this, which happens, if you buy here and it just goes, like there's no structure, right? There's no, like, where do I move it to? In this instance, you can choose to use certain things. I choose to use an average true range ATR. If I see that something just goes, like if I bought here and it just goes, well, stocks don't just go straight up. And so when they go straight up, they're going to come right back down to consolidate somewhere. Yeah. So if it gives me a good move, like more than 1 to 2 ATR, then I'm probably going to take some profits right away, maybe a quarter or a third. And then I'm going to move my stop at least 1 ATR away. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to move it with the ATR. So that way I have some type of structure, and then I'm going to wait patiently for it to structure itself. And then when it does, I don't give a crap about ATR anymore. I'm watching the chart. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot. Yeah, total sense.
So you
follow the structure, but if there is no structure, because it's just a V bottom reversal or some kind of parabolic move, then you're looking at ATR, or I mean, choose some other management
Some
strategy.
people
Maybe
use
it's a
SMAs,
10 MA,
EMAs.
10 EMA
But
or
use
something, but some
something.
kind of strategy. As
Yeah.
opposed to what I did was I was like, okay, break even as soon as possible. And then,
Right.
oh, I mean, move a little higher. I think one of the other things, let me ask you this, like
Sure.
transitioning from a day trade mentality to a swing trading mentality, because I realized just after talking with you in this little span, I'm like, yeah, I was treating that more like a day trade, like intraday, looking at the intraday movement. And you're like, it's like swing trading. I usually look at the daily. And for me, I like, okay, well, daily or hourly, either way.
Sure. Yeah.
I was looking at the 1 minute chart when I did.
Yeah. You don't want to do that.
Yeah. So how do you like make that jump from getting away from that day trade mentality? And it might happen naturally for me as I am working and doing that full time. But I don't know, what do you think of that?
So what I want you to do is set up your charts to where you only have, just for now, okay, as you're getting to that transition, just look at the monthly, the weekly, the daily, and then the 4 hour and maybe the 1 hour, like I'll go as far as the 30 minutes sometimes, but like I'm making all my decisions off of the daily, monthly, and weekly when I swing trade. Okay. So like if I want to refine an entry, I'll look at the 4 and 1 hour. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not looking at the 10 minute, like I'm not looking at the 15, because this is a swing trade, like I'm trying to hold for the move, right? So like the move could be weeks. I could be in it for weeks. I could be in for 2 days, 1 day, but you're at least, when you enter a swing trade, I'm at least thinking 3 days. Like I'm thinking this is going to be at least 3 days. And so think like that. Like I'm being in this move for 3 days. You got to size it appropriately for that so that we can withstand, and you just ride the move. So just focus on like the daily, monthly, weekly, and the hourly. And that's all I would focus on. And the setups are uniquely the same. They're just on the bigger time frame. And the bigger the time frame I have found, the stronger the setup personally. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Let's see. What would you recommend? Do you think, like, hearing my story and what I was telling, do you feel like that FOMO and fear of loss, do you think that's mostly a factor of that situation where having the full-time job, paying the bills, that'll kind of just go away? Or like, how do you address some of those emotional, psychological side of things? I think a big part of it had to have just been the pressure of paying the bills.
A big part is that, but it's not going to just go away because you have a job. Like everyone's different. It might, which would be phenomenal, but I don't really know any trader who just goes away, So I think those are the two things that a lot of people battle, right? FOMO, fear of losing, fear of missing out. They battle this constantly. And I think what's super important that you need to do, like what I would do right away is I would only paper trade. Like I would paper trade, but like you got to treat it. I don't know how you treated it back then, but you should literally, now that you trade real money, you need to treat it just like that. Like you need to treat it seriously. You need to make sure that when you evaluate your trades, you trade it the exact same way you trade a real account, because there's no need to lose real money right now. Because what I want you to experience is you want to start experiencing a trade without all of that rush. So that way you can stick to a plan. And then you show yourself over time, okay, I've done this trade 100 times. And when I stick to my plan, I tend to do okay. So when you transition slowly to real money and you start off small, you can start to see that happening, and then you gain confidence. It's the people who just jump, like who just like, I'm risking $20 now I'm risking 100. Like that's a huge jump that is just not necessary. And it's because we want to rush, right? Like just slow down. There's no need to rush, because once you get the skills, Stephen, then you're set, like once you get the skill and once you can get it down. But it could take 3 years, it could take 5 years. It could take 8. Some of the best traders I know, it took them 10 years to get consistent. So like it takes time, but I don't know if I answered your question, but does that make sense?
It does. I got caught up in what you were saying, so I don't remember what I asked now.
You were asking about like, is it
the psychology of things, the FOMO, and if it would go away. Yeah. So you would recommend going back to paper for a while?
Yes, yeah, 100%. I'm showing a couple of my buddies swing trading right now, and I'm saying just do. I don't want you. They're always trying to think about making money. Like everyone wants to make money, but like the further you can get away from making money and just focus on process and focus on executing well, then that just comes. Like it's just going to come with it. Because swing trading, man, like swing trading is just like day trading, like it ebbs and flows, right? Sometimes the longs will just be there there'll be a new swing trade every other day and you're just killing it. But then sometimes it'll be like 2-3 weeks and I don't put one swing trade on because it's just dead. So like you got to be patient too. And you got to just understand, like when you see your setup, if it's let's say it's a reversal play, I like those plays, like reversals. Like I do like those as a swing strategy for myself. But just know, like you better stop out when you're wrong because they can just keep going. Because usually when you're buying a reversal, you're buying a temporary pullback, so it can continue to pull back. But whenever you buy those, like just know, like you need to have structure on what makes you buy, right? Which it seems like you had support. You need to have a trigger. You don't just want one thing. You don't want just like, okay, there's key support here, Steven, so I want to buy. Okay, great. But if the big picture is a downtrend, maybe not. Wait till that downtrend breaks, and now you have key support, a reversal trend break. That's a little bit stronger now. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And then if you have volume behind that move, now you have 3 things going in a direction. So like when I'm swing trading, there's a lot of times, like I reviewed Disney and Walmart not too long ago. You should definitely watch those. And when I swing trade, like sometimes I'll buy a trend reversal. And then sometimes it looks almost the same to like someone who's not familiar with trading. And I don't trade it, but it's because I'm looking for what's the word I'm looking for right now?
Criteria.
Sure, but I'm more so looking for confluence. I'm looking for multiple things to line up. Yes. So if I see key support on SC, then I'm also looking at the hourly, and I'm like, okay, well, what's the hourly telling me? Well, it looks like it's just like downtrend. Okay, great. Maybe I buy a little bit at 200. Maybe I buy, let's say my full size position is 1,000 shares. Maybe I buy 200 shares. That's it. That's all I'm going to buy until this downtrend breaks, or until a couple of more days go on and just consolidates there. And I'm like, oh, it's not breaking lower. Maybe I'll buy 200 more. And then it breaks the downtrend line. I'm going to load up the other 500. You know what I'm saying? And now, like, at least if you're wrong, you're not wrong on your full position right away. But you're waiting for confluence to all add up till you load it. Does that make sense? The better move is just to wait for confluence and then hit it, but if you don't, and you're just like, just know you're being a little eager and you better downsize a lot more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Cause you got to keep your losses small, man. You got to keep them so small, because if not, dude, you'll have losses. You'll take your gains. Like you said earlier, like every time I was like up a little bit, I'll just take it. Yeah. But then you'll never overcome your losses. They'll just never happen. So you need to create structure for doing that too. So like the way I think about that is, if I'm going to risk 1R is just relative to what you're willing to lose per trade. So if I'm going to risk 1R, I need to at least make 3R. That's the goal. You can do 2R. Everyone's different, but mine's 3R. Like I want 3R. So because of that, I do have structure with how I'm going to take profits. It's always at a key resistance area. So if that key resistance area, if I'm buying long and it's only 1R away, well, I better know that ahead of time and just have a plan of how I'm going to how I'm going to handle that. Am I even going to take the trade at full size because 1R is just, there's resistance right overhead? Maybe not. But if it's like 2R, like the next resistance is 2R away, then I'll still take the trade, and I'll probably take a quarter or a third off at 2R, and then I'll ride the rest. Because at the end of the day, here's the other thing with swing trading. I don't want to cut the profit until the trend breaks. Okay. So if you're swinging something for a reversal, like you did earlier on SC, then as soon as it reverses, you called it. So now it should set up to a trend over time. And if it starts to trend, there's no reason for you to get out until that trend breaks, right? Because now you called the move. If you get out anytime soon, then you're just like shooting yourself in your foot for doing a good trade. You know what I'm saying? So let the trade tell you to get out, but also have structure on when to get profits. But understand that after you take a little bit off, then just ride the move. Like it could be, there's some moves, man, that I'll ride for like 1 month, 2 months. Like I'll just be in it. And those are nice, because when they trend, you know how it goes. Like if they start to trend, they can trend for a while. So you don't want to cut your wins too short, because on day trading, here's the thing: when you transition from day trading to swing trading, is day trading, it happens really quick, right? With swing trading, it takes a while. So just know, like, whenever you see something just pop on the first or second day after you being in, just know, like, that's just like a 1 minute candle. Okay. That whole day is that 1 minute candle. So you got to give it tons of 1 minute candles before you make a decision. So just don't rush.
Yeah, that'll be hard for me, I think. I might just be the reality. I I do think I need to move to swing trading just because I feel like I need to get that job or keep that job to pay the bills, provide for the family.
Sure.
So that'll be a good experience.
Are you working from home?
No, I'll be working on site.
Okay.
In the office.
And are you, do you have like privacy to trade the first 30 minutes? Like if you get there early, because you said you have about 30 minutes before.
Oh, I'll be able to trade the open from home before I leave.
Oh, you will? Okay.
I'm on mountain time, so I can trade from 7:30 to 8 and then leave at like 8:15, something like that. Okay.
So I mean, it's possible.
I mean, I should say manage my stops and entries.
It's possible to also day trade like intraday swing. So it's like you see a setup, you take your entry, and then you exit at the end of the day. So like it's a little bit quicker of a move, right? Mm-hmm. But it's a little bit more stressful. You know, it's a little faster. You may get stopped out right away. You know, it's so just know that like there's options. If you could trade the first 30 minutes, you have some options, right? You can also trade the open after like the first 5 minutes, and trade a move in the first 30 minutes and be done for the day. Like you could do that too. Mm-hmm. And just know you have a rule for yourself. Hey, I can only trade first 30 minutes. So when I get my entry, I need to have a time stop. So it's a little different. Like I know you might have heard Michael Martin talk about this, like time stops, where you don't want to be in a trade like if you don't have time. Like you want to make sure you evaluate the trade. Okay, the risk reward is 3-1. I'm going to take this long here. It's already up 1-1. We got 10 minutes before I got to dip out of here. Let me go ahead and take half off right now and then move my stop up, because then it makes a little bit more sense because you're trading based off the time available. Yeah. So you can structure it that way too, but just know it's going to happen a lot doing it this way, that you're going to have a lot of moves that go really, really well your direction, and you may be out of it already, but you can also adapt to that. You can use range orders where you have a range where it stops you out for a stop, or it takes profit, one or the other. And so like you can leave and as it works, you can, take profits for you or stop you out. Yeah. So there's that option too.
Let me ask you another question, go a little bit different direction. This is the other thing I wanted to get from you today. So finding edge and finding setups with edge.
Yeah.
I feel like I can see patterns all over the place, lower lows, higher highs, ascending triangles, A, B, C, D, parabolic moves, long and short. Like there's so much that's out there. But how do you move past trading a pattern to finding what you're talking about, finding those criteria to create that confluence?
Yes.
So multiple time frames align, and there's these other factors that are coming in. How do you create that so that combination has edge versus just randomness? Like I love Mark Douglas's point about like every single specific trade you take, the outcome is random. Like there's the only time we get edge is when you're looking at large numbers and doing it over time, right? Like because then you have the probability law of large numbers or whatever. But every specific trade you take, that outcome is completely random. Like Correct. There's no way to know what's going to happen, right? So so how do you create that edge? Because like after looking at like Investors Underground and even Michael Martin, like the Brandio 1-2-3, it's kind of what we were talking about with those reversals with the competing trends, right? But how do you like take it from that where you're looking at a couple patterns to actually creating edge?
So edge is all right here. Okay, that's the answer people don't want to hear, and that's the answer that people can't sell on the market. So you never hear
that's
this.
An answer I wasn't expecting to hear. So tell me more about what you mean.
So edge, I'm
not following.
Yeah, sure. So like, I have a couple of traders I talk to every day who are trying to get the consistency, and they're buddies of mine, and they're good, when they're clear. When they're not, they just trade like shit and they don't do well. But they know what they're doing, but they can't be consistent because it doesn't matter. Like setups don't matter. Like you and I, like, let me give you, so like, how do I explain this? There's been so many traders that I've met, Steven, that all of them trade so different. Some of them, I look at their charts and I'm like, I don't even see anything, but they're consistent and they do well. And it just shows me over and over and over. What separates all the traders who are consistent is just when they take a trade, they all do the same thing. They all have a plan, thorough. And I know you've heard some of this, but let me finish. They all have a plan, like stop, why they getting in, what's their triggers. They all have that. Like everyone has that, that's sure. But they stick to it. You know, like they don't get shooken out like, oh, it just dipped to, you know, I got in at 210 and my risk is 195. It dipped to 2 right away. I need to get nervous. Like they just don't, it just is what it is. And they stay in it. So a lot of traders will get wicked out or get scared and then end up going their direction and take unnecessary loss. And then on top of that, when they take a trade, as soon as they take the trade, they immediately have already accepted, like they truly accepted, like if I'm wrong, like I expect to be wrong. Like I'm going to lose probably on this trade. And they probably just move on. Like they don't sweat that previous trade. Whereas a lot of new traders, they put so much weight on it and they judge themselves on it that they can't move on. They can't go to the next trade where they clear head because they're going to it like I just lost 3. So now I might lose this one. And then they skip that trade that looks good, but they're nervous or they size real small and then it works. And they're like, oh my God, like I should. And then they're just in this circle. So it's all up here because patterns are easy. Like you said, I see them everywhere. It's true. You see them everywhere, which is why like I'll see my buddy Ricky Analog, he'll trade something. I'm like, I would never touch that. And I'm not dissing him. He's a good trader. Like I'd be like, oh, I would never touch that. And he does the same to me. Like but it's not about the setup per se. It's about belief and confidence in yourself and executing well. So like when I place a plan, sometimes I'll talk to a buddy of mine who's way better than me. And I'll be like, hey man, I don't want to hear what you have to say about the stock because it can influence me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to hear it. Like I want to stay focused because that used to influence my trading and that would make me inconsistent. So when you're looking at breakouts or reversals, like it's not hard. Like you see them, right? On the daily, the hourly, the daily, it's easy. You'll see them. Like you'll see them. It's just a matter of pulling that trigger, setting your stop, and letting yourself be wrong 4 times in a row and not being upset. You know what I'm saying? Like there's going to be times like if you did this is why I want you to do paper. This is what I want you to do. Go to your paper, only trade those, let's say 2, I don't know what you're set. It sounds like your reversal setup, right? Trade
reversal
that setup.
Is one that works for my psychology. Like I like the idea of buying low, selling high. Reversals work for my personality.
Yeah, I love that. So like when you buy those, you need to, track every single trade, right? And only do that one. Only do that setup. So every time you see it, pull the trigger. Every time you see it, pull the trigger. And here's what's going to also change. You're going to start to learn the nuances, the differences of how that setup works and when it doesn't. Because when you're trading like breakouts, this, that, this, then your mind's all over and you think it's just breakouts. Well, the longer you trade a breakout, the longer you start to learn like every breakout is a little bit different and every reversal is a little bit different. So how you enter might be a little different, but you don't learn that until you focus on just trading that. So like you're learning a whole new language. And each setup is a whole new, like one setup is Spanish, one setup is French. You don't try to learn French and Spanish at once. You just can't do it. You got to do one at a time and focus because it is so hard, man. It's the hardest thing to do because it's all right here because we start to judge ourselves. We get upset. We want to make more, like all of that. And you can work through that by working on one thing. So like, I really think if you focus on one, the reversals, trade that, take pictures of every chart before you enter, like here's what I'm looking at, here's what I'm trying to do, put that in Excel. Then when you enter, take a picture again. I entered, here's why I'm entering, here's my plan, here's why I'm stopping out. And then the next day, as you evaluate it, take pictures. It's a little bit, you don't have to take pictures every day, but every time you update something, like I'm going to update my stop, take a picture. Why did you update your stop? If you're updating the stop for any reason around, like, I feel like it shouldn't go, if the word shouldn't is in there. Like it shouldn't do this. Like that's just you being scared. But if your answer is it's built a key support here after the past 3 days and it hasn't broken. In fact, it tried to break and it didn't. This is why I'm moving my stop to here. So now now my stop is X. You know what I'm saying? And just play methodical. The more methodical you can get about it, the better you're going to get with that setup. And that's the biggest thing I would say when it comes to answering that.
Yeah, thank you. That is it really hits home. The shouldn't, and like, because I do that all the time. Like,
yeah, I did too, all the time.
And that's why I do this, is I think this is what's going to happen. And you're right, it's all emotion. And then the other thing just about edge, like even, I've been focusing on this for months now, and I've been listening to everyone I can, like chat with traders and you and Micah Martin and Nate and, all these great people. And I still wasn't connecting the dots with edge. Like I thought, so I was trying ABCD and I was trying to focus on ABCD. Yeah. And I was like, why is this not working for me? And so I thought that meant that I didn't have the right criteria in place, because I could see it all over the place. And I was like, well, why is it when I buy this high or low that they always either go sideways or crap out on me?
So
or
one
they
thing
go up
with,
a little bit.
So anyway. One thing with ABCD, just to give you like an idea, like you can see that everywhere, sure. But one thing that helps me with that kind of setup is I need to see massive volume the first day that I ever moved. And then when the ABCD sets up, I need to go look back to the left and be like, on the day it actually did the first A, was it abnormal volume? If the answer is A, yes, then I'm looking at it. If it's not, and it's just normal volume like every day, then the move's probably not going to be the best move for you. And it may not even work, right? And then and then I wanted to build structure, like a couple of days of like the B, and then C. And then so like time is important too. Like, so just because you say ABCD on the 1 minute doesn't mean it's going to work, right? On the 2 minute doesn't mean it's going to work. 5 minute works a little bit better than the 1 minute, right? Like you start to see that bigger time frames work, but volume is really important too. But ABCD is good. But then what if you see ABCD on the daily, right? And then you also see on the hourly a major downtrend breaking happen before the ABCD actually starts to trigger for a buy. That could be your signal now, because now you have confluence. You have things adding up, because the more patterns, the more things you start to see that are adding up on different time frames, not this, different time frames, then these are more people looking at that same thing. You know what I'm saying? You need volume behind a move to go. So without volume, you don't have gas for the car and you can't go. So like, that's super important. Like I have a buddy who trades and he finds good setups, but he finds a lot of setups that have no volume. Like on the daily, the most it's traded is 1 million on the daily. Like the most it's traded is 1 million. Like that sounds like you're going to be in a boring stock forever, and it's going to be choppy, and it's also going to be hard to read. And it's, we probably all lose on that one. Like it's hard. Those are hard stocks. You want abnormal volume.
I have another question about, well, it's a little bit more of a tangent, I guess. So I feel like my plan here is I'm going to go back to paper. I'm going to focus on reversals. I like the psychology, or like the idea of reversals. Yep. And just practice those and kind of building that edge as I focus on them and build and practice them. How is that something that works in most markets, or like, because I know like one of the issues I had the last month is I was trying to do multi-day breakouts as the market became super, super choppy. Whereas, beginning of 2021, or heaven forbid 2020, that would have been a great pattern and a great strategy to use. But then the market changes and you got to adapt with it and go try other things. Do you feel like reversals are relatively consistent across markets, or how do you incorporate that changing market and that need to adapt when you're learning and trying to focus on just one thing?
That's a really good question. And that's a good question, because that's the, as a new trader, it's against you, right? Like you have one tool in your belt that you're working on. And when that tool isn't in the right environment, it's not going to work. And it's not because of you, it's just not going to work. But sometimes it's hard for you to differentiate like it's because of me or because of the market, because you're so new.
Exactly.
So that's something that I don't have an answer for, other than this is why you got to, like, the whole goal for you right now, and this is you're going to understand this now, is to just survive. Because if you can survive, then you will have enough time to be like, oh, my reversal strategy works during this type of environment. And then it's not me when it's not working, when it's this type of, it just doesn't work. And like, you don't feel that until two things happen. You've just done that setup only, and you've realized over a year or two, you're like, God, like sometimes I do great for 2 months, and then the next 3 months I do shitty. Or you have enough strategies under your belt to where when A strategy doesn't work, you can go to B and you don't really notice it, right? Like you don't really notice it because B is working really well. That's hard. I don't have a real answer other than like, it just takes time. You got to survive long enough. And I've only been trading for like 4 years, right? So I haven't experienced a terrible bear market with that strategy, even though I trade that. But I probably wouldn't trade that. I'll probably be shorting the market instead, because I short too. So like, I think what I would be more focused on, instead of worrying about like how long will this last, just worry about getting good at it. And then if it goes away, here's the other thing. It doesn't go away forever. You know what I'm saying? If it goes away, what you always want to focus on is how to get better at you, right? How do you get better at executing well? Because the setups, once you learn breakouts, then yeah, it takes time to get good at them, but it's easy to kind of uniquely spot them at first, reversals, so forth. But how you trade them, how you become better as a trader is getting better at executing, right? So just always focus on like, how do I focus on executing well on this setup? So that way, if it doesn't work in the future, because you're tracking it, you're trading it. And the more you trade something, man, like you'll start to know, like you'll know when the reversal's like, okay, none of these are working. I've traded the last 10 and like 8 of them all just crapped out. That happens to me sometimes. And when it does, guess what I do? I immediately just downsize dramatically on that setup. Like really, like pretty much don't even trade it. Like I just downsize dramatically and also trade it small until it starts to work really well. And then I'll start to size up again, you know, on that setup. So I'll trade breakouts. I'll trade trend long. Like I'll buy long trends, like when it's just going up, and I'll buy reversals. But my favorite's reversals. That's my favorite personally. But like, I don't have a real, like that's just takes time, man. It just takes time.
Do you, on your reversals, do you focus just on the charts, or what fundamentals do you look at other than volume? You mentioned volume because that's still a chart thing. What company fundamentals do you pay attention to, if any at all?
Sure. There's only one thing I look at, and that's just earnings. I just want to know when does earnings come out.
Yeah. So you don't get caught in.
Yeah. I never want to be in anything before the hour before. I don't want to be in it. Like I don't want to be in it. That's the only thing I care about personally. So because I'm like 85% chart only. And then like 15% when those earnings come out. And then that's it. That's all I do. So like, let me show you one. I'll show you one that I'm in right now. Just so you, like, it's a similar one as yours. Tell me, can you see the chart?
Yes.
All right. So no one knows this is going to work. I don't freaking know. I don't care, but this is a setup for me. So like the way I found American Airlines is I just look at the monthly, right? The monthly, yeah, this doesn't look amazing, right? It doesn't look great at all, but what I like is up on the monthly here since 2019, since the drop 2020, we just been trending on the monthly chart really nicely, right? And then on the weekly, it looks good as well on the weekly. And then we also had this right here. I was just looking at the support area earlier. And then you go to the daily. And when I saw this, look at this, you'll see this right here. I also see a little support right here, a little resistance now becomes support. We're coming down to that area. So I bought on this day. I don't know if it's going to work. I had no idea it's going to work. And it went up to 19. I'm still in it now and dropped. I don't care. But what I do care about is as long as the big picture holds, I am not getting out. Because if this does trend and we go back, you know, we could trend on the monthly chart and the weekly, and we keep that trend, I'm going to be in a good spot. If we don't, then I'll take a small loss. So, but like, this is the same kind of deal. It's like, it's pulling back, but big picture, this is mostly, you know, it's holding this trend. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
So it's
That's awesome.
yeah, that's pretty much it. And like now I'll just be holding it. And over time, this 4 hour now because of this wick. Like I like that. So now maybe I'll move my stop to right here. And now it'll pretty much be like a baby loss if I'm wrong. And if I'm right, it could be a really good gain. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't really care about, I mean, this is important. And this is very important. So like, I always look at this. I don't like this, but at the same time, I do like this. I do like this nice grind. I like it. So it's worth the risk for me. So every chart's a little unique. We got Disney on this day. I think it was on, I did a review on the channel. You can watch it, but I bought it on this day right here. Oh, that's a weekly. I bought it on this day right here and then sold it right here and then got out before earnings and then tanked. So like, but this idea was kind of a reversal. Like you'll see here. Sorry.
I see it.
Okay. You already see it. You see it right there. And it held this key area. So I bought it when it was holding this key area and I didn't buy big at first. Remember we talked about? Because I was like, we still got a downtrend here, you know? Why do I keep doing that? 1 second. Let's fix this. We still got a downtrend right here, right? But then I said, I don't want to buy up here because then my risk reward would be terrible. But when I bought a small piece on this day and then, I bought a small piece on this day. And then when it pulled back and wicked again on this day, I added more. And then I added some more because we're getting all these confirmations that, hey, we're not breaking lower. We're getting these little hammers, right? Yep, it's holding. So I'm going to buy more. And then when it pops, like, I mean, I'm in a good spot now. So every situation is different. Usually I would wait for this to break before I buy anything. But this has too much support right here on the weekly. Look at that. And the monthly that I'm okay buying it. You know, does that make sense? But I'm not going to buy all of it right away. I'm going to buy a little now. Then the next day it held, buy a little more. Then the next day we held more, add full size. Because now I'm like more confident and then boom. I didn't know this was going to happen. I had no idea.
Did you get out with a stop or did you get out with a limit order?
No,
like, were you
limit orders.
Trailing or did you? Oh, sorry, what was that?
No, I sold just at levels. I sold at levels, and then
the resistance. Yeah.
Yep,
okay.
Yep. So you see this resistance up here?
And knowing that earnings was coming, so you knew you're like, okay, if it doesn't work
get out
before
quick.
Earnings, I'm out anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I got out up here. I got out some on this day and then the most on this day when it comes up to this resistance. But then I got out all of it on this day because I moved my stop to an ATR because what did it do? It just went. It just went from like 168 to 178. Instead of giving me, you know, some structure, I used the ATR. And so I said, well, at this point, I don't want it to go below, I think it was like 170. I don't remember, but it was like right here. I got stopped out. Yeah. But then the next day it just, you know, we had earnings. So I don't know if that helps, but like you don't need to overcomplicate. You see how like I try to keep it simple, but at the same time, like what I always focus on and stress about is like just my plan, man, just my plan. Like if I'm always going to buy this type of setup, then I always need to make sure that my stop is here at a key area. My profit targets are here. I stick to that plan. I don't get shaken out. Like I just stick with it. And swing trade's a good way to practice that because you can buy, set your stop, put your alerts on, and not even look. I don't look at my swings until the day's over because there's no point. Every day, really think about this. Every daily candle is really just a minute candle. Okay. It's the same thing. So you got to give it tons of days for it to show you something.
Let me ask you one more question. Last one. So I don't want to have to go back to work a third time. I want this to be the only time, right? So my plan in my head, we'll see if this actually happens. My plan in my head is I'm just going to keep my day job and swing trade and then someday retire. Right. But for you, looking back, and I'm trying to remember from your story, but why did you have to go back the third time? Because like, what was it? So the first time I get it, you quit your job, you had to go back. That's where I'm at now, is I have to go back. Yep. But when you quit your job the second time, what held you back? Like, how come you had to, like, what held you back from consistency and made you go back to work the third time?
The first time was just, I didn't know. I just sucked. Second time, I just broke even that whole year. So I wasn't making anything. So I was like, I got to get income, so I went back to work.
So why did you quit your job the second time then? When you weren't
because I'm
consistent?
someone who wants to do it. I'm just going to go for it.
Oh, you're just dying to, okay.
There's no, I'm that person. Like, I'm not going to stop. So that's just how it is. Mm-hmm. Then I went back to work, and you asked, why did I go back the third time? Right. Or why did I get a job the third time? Because I didn't go back to the same job. Or did I? No, I did. I went back to the same job the third time, twice. On the third one, I went back for only like a couple of months. And then that's when I was like, I want to go back because I found out what works for me. Maybe if I get income always coming in, then I can just stay consistent and be fine. So I went back to work, and I was immediately just doing fine. Like, even 2 months before I went back to work, I was consistent because I knew I would have money. It was weird. Mm-hmm. And then when I was working for those next 2-3 months, I was still consistent. I was like, man, I'm consistent for 5 months now. I'm like, I don't even know why I'm doing this. And then I decided, like, I'm not happy at this job, because they decided to let me work from home. It was a great gig, but I just wasn't happy with it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to find a job that was like part-time-ish from home, that barely made my bills, and just trade and just stay consistent. And then that's what I did. That's what I ended up doing. And just continue to do that. And then the rest is history. I mean, I share it on the show. So
yeah.
Awesome. But it takes forever, dude. Like, it took me forever. And maybe because I'm hard-headed, I don't like to be wrong. I don't like to lose. Like, there's a lot of reasons I have to deal with. But like, the more honest you could be with yourself when you take losses and know that you made a mistake, not blaming anyone, like, just the more honest you can be with yourself, the better you're going to get faster. It's the people who are like, I know I should be paper trading right now, but they don't do it. Those are the ones who'll never make it, because they don't listen to their inner self, who know, like, when they know what they should do, but they don't do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you just got to really listen to what your gut's telling you in terms of, like, you know what? It's smart. Like, I should probably have income coming in while I do this. And that helped, I should probably go and only trade this style. Okay. That helps. And, just like really listen to yourself and trust yourself. Even though you don't know this realm yet, you can still trust when you feel something is right and when it's not, in terms of like what you like, right? And what you should and shouldn't do, in terms of like, I shouldn't be risking a lot of money right now because I don't know what I'm doing. But a lot of people do it anyway. And I was one of them because of ego. Like, I can get this, because I was good at almost a lot of stuff that I did. And that's why I quit. And I was like, I could do this. And I sucked. I was not good. I'll tell you that.
Well, one of the things I love about it is you learn so much. Like, I've never done anything so hard, and such a interesting combination of talent and processing speed and psychology and maturity, and this strange combination of risk seeking and risk aversion, which I think is honestly my opinion of why so many people fail. I think it's because of that strange combination. I think you have people that want to gamble, that have that risk-seeking aspect of their lives, and they have the enough risk appreciation that they're willing to go take that big risk, but they don't have the risk aversion to control their losses and to, like you were saying, have that honest conversation with themselves. Like for the hard one for me is like, hey, I am not profitable as a day trader. Yep. I did not, like, I don't like saying that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did not earn the privilege of day trading because I obeyed all my rules. Like, I obeyed all my stop rules. It never blew up, but I didn't earn the privilege of doing it consistently because of the focus and some of those things that you were talking about. Like, I think for me personally, I think I need to go back to paper and be like, you know what? I need to prove myself in these reversals and establish consistency on paper again. And I think I will, because I was consistent on profit on paper before, but I have to kind of re-earn that privilege, And so anyway, I appreciate that. I think that's a good chat for sure. Like, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to ask you about. I don't think so.
No,
those
were
the
good,
main
man.
ones.
Yeah, those are
the
good
psychology
questions.
And the edge. Those were the big ones.
Yeah, so. I mean, those are good questions. Every trader I talk to on the show, like who I've interviewed, I have the pleasure sometimes to talk with him out of the show, right? Like we're friends, we gain relationships and stuff like that. And I think one thing we can all agree on, like every single person I've met, is it's literally it's literally all up here, dude. It's literally and it's and that's not sexy, you know, like that's not like what do you mean it's all up here? Like the longer you trade, the more you start to realize, like, oh my God, like it doesn't matter what the setup is, it matters how I trade.
Yeah.
It really does. Like it's super important how you trade because emotions really wreck people. So I mean, just really, you read Mark Douglas, which is a really good book. It's a really good book. I highly recommend you read Technical Analysis by Brian Shannon. I think that's a really good book, especially for swing trading. Like it could be really helpful for you. So I definitely look at that, and maybe even Volume Price Analysis by Wendy, I believe her name is. That's a really good one.
I tried that one. I couldn't get quite through. Is that the one with no, what was her name?
Wendy, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Was it Wendy? I don't remember.
I can't remember. I'll get through it.
It's hard to get through. Don't get me wrong. But if you can get, I'm telling you, because my buddy's trying to read that. He's like, dude, I don't like this book. But if you can actually read it, buy it. But you know what, you want the physical book because there's some good things you need to look at. But like if you can actually read that book and just take your time, like, and then read that with technical analysis, like, or you know, one or the other first, but make sure you read them like back to back. It can really help you at least in seeing things a little bit different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no worries.
That'll be a good thing to do over the holiday.
Yeah, Steven. Well, look, man. Hey, I wish you the best of luck, brother. I really do. And just don't be too hard on yourself. Take your time. And at the end of the day, man, like just slow and steady, man. There's no rush on this game.
All right. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Hey, take care. God bless.
All right. Take care.